Hello again and welcome to Forum for a Better Understanding. I'm Jim Grant, your host, and it's a pleasure being here today with Edie Jessup, who happens to be the wife of the person whom you met 2 weeks ago, who also was the co-founder of this project called Forum for a Better Understanding. We said goodbye to Bryan and all the wonderful work that he's been doing with the Unitarian Universalist community and all of us in Fresno for the past 15 years. And now we want to bid fond farewell to Edie, who has done in her own way tremendous work in different areas. The main area that I'm connected with would have been work on homeless and work with the hunger, nutrition, and obesity prevention programs that she is so passionately committed to. Edie, thanks for joining us on what is our 377th effort to have a panel. But instead of a group of people, I thought I could put all our eggs in your basket and let you represent all the intercultural and interfaith people, because you have worked with them in many beautiful ways over these 15 years. Before talking about your programs, tell us a little bit about yourself and your memories of Fresno, the most important, and what it is that makes Edie, Edie.
Whoa. Jim, I'm a Valley girl. I was born here in the Valley, as was Bryan. And so our opportunity, we grew up in Tulare County, in Porterville and Lindsay. And I think that the opportunity we had to come back to the Valley as adults and to be where our family and our roots are was really a very sweet opportunity for us. And so coming back here was great. I have worked in all over the country on one thing or another, but the last almost 30 years as Bryan's wife, I have moved from California to Delaware to Maine and back again, and I've found my own things to do in the community.
Absolutely.
And it has been terrific in terms of being able to grow and learn about other people.
You've had many deep, profound experiences here in the Valley, leading us in many directions. What would be some of the projects that you really and truly want to highlight and make sure that early in the program we hear about your major passions, your major commitments?
Well, I think that once we came here and had been here for a couple of years and kind of got the lay of the land, if you will, I said to Bryan, if I could do anything when I grow up, it would be that I want to work with Walt Perry at Fresno Metro Ministry. And if I had the opportunity to do that, that is what I would want to do.
Now, how did that happen? How did you know Walt? How much of Walt did you know?
Well,
That's awesome.
I knew the work that he was doing. One of the first things that somebody took me to one of his health forums. The week that we came, the week we arrived, it was someone from the church said, "Oh, there's this happening," and I went, and I was so impressed at the depth of discussion, the people who were engaged in being concerned about, and it happened that day they had 2 or 3 people, but one was a shaman from the Hmong tradition, and it was just extremely exciting. And then the people had a chance to talk to each other about it, and it was like, oh, this is a good thing.
Nice.
Yeah.
And that was the first week
that we were here in Fresno.
And then
yes.
how soon, ballpark?
Oh, it was a couple of years.
Couple years, but
yeah.
that's what
I
you
worked
wanted?
briefly for the Girl Scouts, and then there was an opportunity that Walt gave me. I was not working. Bryan's dad was living with us, and he had a forum that needed to be
Nice.
organized and done, and it happened to be on food and nutrition issues. And so that really was my opportunity. And then I said, well, Walt, if I could fund myself, if I could write a grant to really continue to work on these issues, would you let me do it? And he said, well, see what you can do. And so I had a good 10-year run at doing that.
You did, and we'll come back to that more, because that's such an important part of my connection with you, would be having been on the board and having had you be one of the major directors of that ministry and how successful it was. Going back just a little, a question that I know people are going to have, and they're going to say, what a great question. Don't tell us what you did at this point. Tell us why you do anything you do. What is the inspiration, the motivation that lets you choose projects to do, to stay committed to them, or to leave others to the side? What makes you decide to do what you're going to do and to do it the way you're going to do it? What is your inspiration?
That's a great question. My inspiration, I have come to find that the things that I really love to do are things that are really fundamental to all of us. And so pulling from my background to some extent and my privilege really in terms of working with people and having the opportunity to do things is that there's some really fundamental basic things we all need. That's all of us, not special people and not folks who are higher or lower on the totem pole. And those are the things when those that pulls at my justice things, that if I have the privilege of having a shelter and food and health care, which I can't do anything without those things, and nobody can do anything without those things. And so it becomes just totally fundamental that those are the things that matter most to me. And I have settled into that. It is not where, I'm 65, I've had some things, I've done some things, but to come to that those things are the things that are most important is really, and that my experience has shown me that just individual solutions are not going to do it. And also, I suppose a really compelling thing is that we forget that there are forces bigger than us, And so if I have had health issues, and some of that has to do with my diet or my genetics or my early childhood. I was born in Linnell Labor Camp in Tulare County in Farmersville and put out for adoption. And I know that my health was compromised by growing up, having that first year in pretty abject poverty. And then I had the opportunities that most people don't have. And so my life has been changed, and I have to remember that because it is, everyone should have the opportunity that I ended up having. And yet it shouldn't be a displacement thing. So that compels me.
That does, and that's powerful to see that it's your own life's experience and your own desire to hit the fundamental issues. Yes. So that would be food, that would be lodging, that would be health. And these are the things that over the years you have really committed to and stayed with in different settings. So it may be you're in a different place, but it's that same issue, you're going to cover it. So thank you for having persevered in something that you decided or felt that this is my this is my call. This is my call. Now getting back to the call with Metro Ministry, so it was Walt and that wonderful Walt Perry leadership that you were drawn to. Now tell us about those years, some of the major commitments that you are obviously personally satisfied with and proud of, the people you worked with and the issues you were so well leading. You led us. Tell us about some of them.
I'm touched that people think that I'm a leader, but it's all dependent on people.
Yeah.
People working with me, and I've had the pleasure of people playing with me on these issues, and which makes me think that maybe they're issues for everyone, that they are not, that they're fairly universal. But so I have relied on that organizing part, and I think that Metro taught me how long it takes. That it is not something that you have a presentation or a forum and that does it. It's over time, and it's people building relationships and beginning to understand what things separate and what things can bring us together. And so I was able to do, I think I did 89 forums, all on hunger and nutrition issues. Wow. There's such a gamut of things, but over time, it's the creation of a body of knowledge and a commitment to begin to move some things that really, I think, over that time is something that was just huge for me.
Now, without being exhaustive and having somebody not be mentioned because, you didn't mention everybody. Yeah. Obviously, certain people you worked with more intensely, more often, longer times. Who are some of these people that you, in a sense, are going to miss because of the work you were able to do with them at Metro?
At Metro, and because of the relationship of Metro and the community also. I think of folks who work with direct services. So I'm thinking of people who are working like Margarita Rocha with Centro La Familia. I'm thinking of Yolanda Randles at West Fresno Healthcare. I'm thinking of Sharon Stanley and her group at Firm, and Kathy Garabed and Micah now at Stone Soup. Those are the people who are really doing it, and what they have brought to our knowledge about what this place is and what the needs are. And those people are the folks that have listened to what the solutions are of the folks and have responded to it. And to support that is very exciting to me. So there are so many there's so much fine work being done.
Yeah.
It is wonderful. And then I want to mention that folks on the other side, if you will, in terms of the County Human Services Department, I battle them, but they were tenacious and loyal in spending time. I had a food stamp advocacy group that I convened, and the county was there every time.
That's great.
As these other folks who are working with folks that needed things to go in a better way and to make them work. And that tenaciousness of folks is admirable.
We are told we have to take our break, which means we have used up half of our time, which is okay because we're going to be back in 1 minute. Please don't go far, and we'll be back to finish our little conversation with Edie Jessup, so stay tuned.
For over 25 years, KNXT has been serving the people of the San Joaquin Valley with good family television that's just not available anywhere else. It's important for you, the viewer, to help support this valuable tool of ministry. KNXT needs to continue to grow and bring you important programming about your faith. But sometimes it's hard to stop and find the time. Make it easy. Go to knxt.tv and find out how easy it is to support your Catholic television station, KNXT TV.
Having only half a show left, I'm going to talk faster. Edie, some people advocate, some people are in direct services. I think you are a tremendous advocate. Why have you found yourself in that position? Is it natural, or is it that you worked yourself into advocacy?
I think I worked myself into advocacy. I have done direct services and worked with folks, mostly folks who are poor and have not had what they need to support them to move on to the next thing. And once I feel like once you see that, then you have to do something different. Or you have to keep doing that because people there are things they need met. Yeah. But after that, if you don't stand up for what you know about that then, and begin to do it from that and take on the folks that have the power to create it. I did bring my little favorite thing that I always have on my desk, and it says, when I give food to the poor, they call me a saint, and when I ask why the poor have no food, they call me a communist. And I put that on my desk, and that is my advocacy, my spur to advocacy. And I believe that the systemic things are things we have to address.
Exactly, and that's what you have been able to do, and that's why we hope that the people who will succeed you now in these different agencies, which need people who advocate and not just keep the same machinery going. We need to do something different, and that takes people who are going to be agents of change. Now, one thing you and Bryan did that we have proof that you did it, and we did a program on it, is the wonderful El Camino, that you took that wonderful pilgrimage in northern Spain. We're going to show some pictures, and why don't you walk us through why you did this, how you made it a priority to get to Spain to do it, and what happened during the El Camino.
So this is wonderful. This is the first day, and it's going from up the Pyrenees and up and over the Pyrenees. And I love this view. There is just this vast space behind me and a vast space ahead of me, and it got very steep also. I was very tired at the end of the day.
I bet. And there
I am. It's the mud. There were 7 different colors of mud.
Oh, wow.
So walking for 30 days, the observation of what is both right in front of you and then what is off in the distance, I was really struck with that. And it became important coming back. And what I did with my work after that. And I love that picture
That's
of
beautiful.
Bryan and I, the sun behind us, and walking and walking and walking.
It's like Don Quixote and
Yeah,
Sancho Panza.
that's Sancho Panza.
Beautiful.
That's right. And there I am, walking against the cows. I love the ruralness of it. I love the quiet of it. I love the meditation of just walking and walking. And so it was, and I came back healthy too, which was a good thing.
Great. And there they are.
There we are in front of, I loved the rural part of it, and I loved the farming part of it. And this is a seed storage thing walking along, and I took lots of pictures of those.
You know, I remember fondly in 2005 when you came back and you wanted to do a show on a forum, Let's Talk. It was so beautiful that the Unitarian Universalists wanted to share their excitement at doing a pilgrimage that basically Catholics like to do.
Yes.
It's awesome. Getting back to public health, you've really dealt with big issues. Where do you want to go now in the next 10 minutes? Do you want to tell us about exactly what you're concretely working with at Central California?
A regional obesity prevention program. I kind of phased into that while I was still at Metro, and it became very clear to me how health and our diets are tied, and what we're seeing here in the Valley is just criminal from my perspective. We have a whole generation of kids that are going to be very compromised. Their health is going to be very compromised, and we aren't acting fast enough, if you will. It is so important. And that it is overwhelmingly impacting our communities of color and communities in poverty. Because of poverty, they can't access healthy food. And we have done such a thing to our food system. All of this kind of, led into the food system being something that really needs to be looked at, and why is it the way it is, and what do we do to get it changed? And so CROP was just rolling out. It was an 8-county project looking at prevention and looking at health prevention, not from providing health care or teaching people, but looking at changes in environment and changes in policies that would support people who were trying to be healthier. And all of a sudden it made sense to me that those things needed to be addressed. And it wasn't good enough for the doctors to say, well, eat better and move more. They'd been saying that for 50 years. But if people don't have the environment that supports their doing that, then...
How would you sum up your success, or at least your tremendous efforts with the school system, with getting junk out of the schools and good food into the schools?
Well, it's still an uphill battle, too. I began working on with a group of stakeholders on a wellness policy for the school well before it was really required. It was going to be required by the feds, but we started working on it early so that about 25 different people from different places in the school system and the community got together and looked at, well, what should this look like? What will really assist the health of kids and therefore their ability to learn? And it took 2 years to come to some sort of agreement, and there were still some things not good. And we're still working at getting the school district to comply with some of that. So those of you whose kids are selling candy to raise money for school, they shouldn't be doing that.
Should not.
And so, yes.
Now,
so that was one, but there are a couple other things. Let me just throw in.
Please.
So what does it take to create a healthy neighborhood? So produce stands. We were interested in developing farmers markets for local farmers so that they got into low-income areas, or areas that were food deserts, if you will. And we found that the city of Fresno prohibited the vending of fresh produce in residential and commercial areas. So there was a policy that needed to be changed, and we did that. But during that time, it turned out that schools didn't have to comply with city zoning and ordinances. So if you put a produce stand on the school, then you didn't have to. Okay.
It was okay. You could do that. You could do that.
So we got that started.
That's good.
And the school district worked with us, developed a MOU so that the farmer and the school were all okay. And we just had one open day before yesterday at Vang Pao School, and it was marvelous. And to see the kids eating fresh local strawberries and the parents there buying healthy food that was not available in that neighborhood previously. So I'm telling you all that, and that can just be a microcosm. We can just talk about schools. There are other arenas but it takes so long to get it done, and then to find ways for it to be sustained is the other part of it. And that's big work, and somebody has to pay attention to it, because it's not going to happen by itself.
One thing we did want to definitely talk about is the event on April 18th, which for us on this program was last night. Mm-hmm. A wonderful celebration, a wonderful congratulations to you, but also an evening of tremendous information, education, formation. Tell us about that.
Well, it was very sweet, and I appreciate the recognition that I got at that event. But it was really about the people who were there and what they have done along with me to make big changes. We showed a clip of a movie called Ripe for Change, and I am just of this opinion that we are at a place here in the Valley and in Fresno where some big changes in terms of health and understanding what we need to do and what we can do. Look at the general plan. It's got big food access pieces to it, and I'm like, oh good, this is going to change the way we do business. So there was that recognition, this wonderful movie, Ripe for Change, panel discussion by people, the producer and people in the movie, Mas Masamoto, Will Scott from the African American Farmers, Chuku Tao from the National Hmong American Farmers, and Kara Lang from the Fresno Food Systems Alliance.
Great.
And the discussion after the movie was terrific.
Great.
What could be better than that?
And
there was an audience full of folks who were receptive and also engaged in the discussion. What could be better than that?
What could be better is that earlier in the day, I was with you over at the beautiful Unitarian Universalist Church, which is a spectacular place to event things. We had a workshop, or we called it a summit, on homelessness, another one of your passions. What would you like to say about, and what would you like to challenge us to do in Fresno now that you'll be moving on to beautiful Arcata, where everyone has a home?
No, that doesn't. So, I have been concerned about homelessness in Fresno for a long time. When we lived in Maine, I worked for a probably the best homeless shelter system in the country.
Oh my.
And I was, again, afforded the opportunity to do a lot of different pieces of that. And so I've been very concerned, and I'm concerned that we do not have something that has addressed it and have not looked seriously at the money, following the money. So my interest is, again, systemically, and it is understanding beyond, this one individual person needs a home, and to taking a look at why are we creating all these homeless people? Because that's the result. So there must be something more than just that people are down and out, and I think that is so. And why we don't house people, it drives me crazy. And look at us. We've got all these empty buildings. Look at us. We have all this empty land. We could at least get people in a decent place.
And besides the homelessness, all the food we waste, all the food we don't grow, all the food we grow and store away, what is wrong? It's systemic. It is not a small issue. That's why we need people like Edie. I want to thank you, Edie, for all that you've done up to now here in the Valley. And we send you with God's blessings for what you'll continue to do up in Arcata. Thank you for your presence among us. May God bless you and Bryan, and may we have people like you to take your place in some way to continue the struggle and the battle and the work that you have done for these years here in the Valley. God bless.
Thank you so much, Joe.
Thank you.
And there are people here to continue.